people who are doing animal husbandry, and I actually went to the state farm trying to find some people with like prize animals that maybe one day could donate the cells that we would use to grow culture. So you have to keep that prize animal alive because you constantly have to be taking samples from it. So it's kind of like camels in Saudi Arabia. You know, they're millions of dollars and they keep them alive forever and try and clone them because they're so valuable. I think that's what we're going to look. I think that's what factory farm meat will start to look like in the future.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. If you could please either use one of the tent cards standing around or use the QR code up here on the screen to check in. That helps the Kaufman Foundation know how active our chapter is. And we have already been, I guess, noted multiple times for being one of the most active chapters. So yay us. There you go. All right, so the mission of 1 Million Cups is to lower the barrier of access to education, resources, and connection for all new and aspiring entrepreneurs throughout the United States, and for us here, especially right here in New Mexico. Well, it's still not open. I tried to. And looking at this fancy map here, we are the best chapter in New Mexico. You can also jump in and get online and go to any 1 Million Cups around the nation. They're all happening at 9 a.m. And also if you're traveling, you can go ahead and look online, find a chapter maybe near you and jump in there. So the key pillars of our presentations is that they are presentations, they're not pitches. We want to hear your story. We want to know why you're doing what you're doing, the challenges you're facing, and how our community here can help you. We also are a networking group, so authentic connections, not just running around and passing out business cards. It's not a speed dating proposition here. And we're run for the community, by the community. So all of us here are volunteers. We really enjoy working with the community and getting connected with all of you and learning what's new and happening and up and coming. And so we get a lot out of doing the volunteer stuff here too. We're also radically and intentionally inclusive. So everyone here is welcome. All businesses are welcome, all types of people. So be cool to each other. Okay, so lots of stuff on this one. The big thing we want to know here is what our community can do for you. 1 Million Cups is a national organization run by the Kaufman Foundation. It's a collective of unique communities working to educate, engage, connect, and inspire entrepreneurs, business owners, and creative idea makers. Lots of other fun stuff up there to read. But the important part is we want to get together, connect, figure out how we can help each other and get to work. If you have not yet presented, please apply to do so. Also, if you have presented in the past and it's been 6 months, we'd love to hear an update from your business. If you've done something new, if you've made new connections, if you've got new things going on, we want to know about it. Okay, so here's all of our organizers. So Paul with EquiSeek, there he is. Lisa Atkins, she's the COO of Fat Pipe here. Eric Renz Whitmore from Ecosystem Developer up in Santa Fe. He's probably online with us right now. I am Danielle Slupeski. I'm an end-of-life coach and death doula, the owner of Conscious Crossroads. Sonia Dewing, I'm sure she's also online. She's the CEO of Plot Duckies Publishing. And Keiko and Oscar are the founders of Legacy Family Documentaries, and I'm sure they're also online somewhere doing their thing. And we couldn't do what we're doing right now without our fancy stuff. Amazing sponsors, Fat Pipe. Thank you very much, Lisa and Stuart. We've been here for 10 years. I just started doing this a few weeks ago, but this has been going on for an extremely long time. So I really appreciate Fat Pipe. Jason, making us all look good every day from JCP Photography. And Miriam, More Than Organized, giving us creamer and helping us organize all of our stuff. Noventum Custom Software. We've got Matt over there. Representing Noventum and providing us with donuts this morning. Minuteman Press has got all of our stuff printed for us, those little tent cards that I'm hoping you all checked in with. And the Foundation for Sustainable Living is providing us with coffee every morning. So for more information, you can visit our bit.ly account. And we thank you all for being here. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Paul so he can introduce our presenter today.
Thank you, Danielle. All right. I don't need this. So it's a pleasure to introduce Elon Colello. And Elon and I go way back. We were the ABQID Accelerator together in 2015. And boy, that was quite the kill rate on that bunch of companies, right? And, you know, he's back and I'm still here. And we both survived the Arrowhead tech sprint. So, you know, I'm happy to have a fellow grizzled veteran join us at this point. And, you know, keep your shirt on. We don't need to see the scars. Come on up, Elon, and tell us about your company.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, that tech sprint was definitely brutal, to say the least.
Working okay?
Yep.
Oh, you go. Can you see the screen?
Good morning, everyone. It's thrilling to be here today. We're about to discuss one of the most important technologies to hit New Mexico since atomic energy and the microchip. My name is Elon Colello, and I'm the CTO of Cetaly, a cultured meat company right here in Albuquerque. My entrepreneurial journeys have taken me to some pretty interesting places, but New Mexico has always been my home. I'm a product manager and designer for deep techs like AR, VR, drones, 360 video, and mobile 3D scanning. However, for the past 6 years, I've been obsessed with stem cells and artificial intelligence. For most of my life, owning a biotech company was just a crazy fantasy, but it became a reality when my friend Matthew and I won second place in 2019 at the AFRL Innovation Competition. It's right across the street there at the Rainforest Building. We used that $5,000 to found Cetaly, build a clean room so that we could grow mammalian cells and growth factors. Since then, we've received some significant help from others in the community. In particular, LANL and the NMSBA provided us with over $500,000 in R&D assistance. It was a little over a year ago when we decided to apply our research outcomes to a purpose greater than ourselves. We realized how important our stem cell optimization was for the cultured meat industry, so we immediately pivoted. If you have the potential to save the planet, it's not a choice, it's your duty. The way we've been producing meat for the last 10,000 years has become unsustainable. Farm-raised meat contributes to 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions and is the #1 cause of deforestation. It is also the primary source of pollution and disease outbreaks. The next agricultural revolution has arrived just in time. We no longer need to slaughter animals to make meat. Instead, their cells are grown in big batches like brewing beer, but it's just far more complicated. Unlike 100% plant-based products, lab-grown meats and farm-raised meats are indistinguishable in taste tests. However, price is a different story. If you're looking at standard ground beef, it's about $3 a pound. Plant-based burgers, $6 a pound, but cultured meat is about $100. There are other challenges with how cultured meat is biomanufactured. The pipeline is dirty with unethically sourced fetal calf serum and is rife with supply chain shortages. Without renewable energy, cultured meat has a 25 times greater carbon footprint than traditional methods. However, Cetaly believes this is an incredible opportunity for data science and AI to solve the problems that humans have been unable to. Our integrated models optimize and monitor production so that producers can make larger volumes of cells with less space and fewer materials. We believe that price parity is possible and that $3 a pound is something we'll see in the next decade. Cetaly is a pickaxe and shovel bootstrap company that licenses our software, sells cell food, and provides systems engineering services to other manufacturers. There are only about 150 cultured meat manufacturers in the world. So we also sell our products to other biomanufacturers and research labs. The global meat market is predicted to hit $2 trillion by 2030. The cultured meat segment is expected to grow at a 50% compound annual growth rate. We expect to capture a 5% share of the $3 billion US market for $150 million a year. Cetaly is differentiated from others in the sense that we are making lower cost cultured meat, but without fetal bovine serum. Instead of pharma grade equipment, we use food grade materials and equipment. Unlike other cultured meat companies, we also license our tech to the competition. Cetaly's team is one of the most capable in the state. I lead product development and fundraising projects. Matthew is our COO and our operations officer, who oversees our manufacturing facilities and clean room. Our chief science officer is Peter Davenport, who's here today. He oversees our research objectives to make sure that our outcomes achieve our company's goals. However, the most important people on our team are Mina, who's the director of decisions, and Luke, our director of revenue. We are all unified by our shared purpose, where together we believe that there's a credible opportunity to put our skills to a cause that will have ripples that will last for a generation. We obviously cannot rely on our political system to solve this problem. We need innovators and inventors to make up the difference. So today I'm asking you to set aside your fears and to tell your friends and family that there's a better way to make food, and it just might save our planet. We're always looking for new people to join our team, so please see me afterwards if you're interested, and I'm happy to stay and answer any questions you might have. Thank you for your time.
So for folks asking questions, you can form a line right here. And I'm going to coach you on two things. One is to introduce yourself and tell me what company or organization you work with. And the other is to do your favorite musician imitation and hold the microphone like this, right up to your face. It's a cardioid mic, points at your mouth. If you do this, no one can hear you. Get it? Right? So do this.
I hope everyone was able to hear me.
Great.
Yeah, you were great.
Yeah, very exciting. I think this is a huge potential to change our planet, and every person in this room has something to offer. Doesn't matter if you're in marketing or advertising, and everyone online has something to contribute. So if anything,
I'll ask the first question. People are shy. It doesn't pay to be shy if you're an entrepreneur. So we have a lot of people in the audience who are not scientists. So could you explain how you're dropping the price of the growth factors through cloning them?
So he's asking about growth factors, which are actually 98% of the cost of making cultured meat. Growth factors, maybe a common one you've heard of is insulin. They're basically signals that cells use to tell each other how to grow. It's I don't know, I think $1 million for a gram of one of the growth factors we manufacture here at our clean room called fibroblast growth factor. So we've reduced the cost by about 1/5 of the price by using bacterial cloning and food grade protocols. So we're doing it in a different way than pharmaceutical companies, where pharmaceutical companies spend a lot of money on extra testing, extra purification that you don't need for cultured meat. So we're offering the same product that pharmaceutical suppliers offer, but we're doing it at 1/5 of the cost, which is what we need to get cultured meat price down, obviously. Yeah.
Right.
Jess Fletchner online has a question, so we'll go back and forth between online. So Jess, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, I'm Jess Fleckner. I am a biotech exec who splits time between Albuquerque and Boston. My question is for your, to get the price point down, how much is going to be dependent on like true innovation and invention and things that don't exist yet, as opposed to repurposing already existing things, so it's just a matter of adapting them to your procedure?
So this technology came from stem cell tissue culturing, which uses pharmaceutical off-the-shelf equipment and materials. But when we're making food, it's a totally different thing, and we don't need these pharmaceutical stainless steel bats that don't leach into the mixture. So, I believe that the entire system needs to be retooled, and that presents huge amounts of opportunity. That's why we're not afraid of competition. You know, it's more about the mission that we want to achieve. And to do that, multiple groups are going to have to partner together to re-engineer how we make cultured meat. We don't need to use medical grade equipment to do it.
Awesome.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Norm with drnormsconnections.com. I am in the dementia defense business. Has nothing to do with what you're doing here. Well, a little bit, but anyway, I appreciate your presentation. It was succinct and very thorough. And I know you've already mentioned the pharmaceutical versus food grade. The question I have is one of my former lives, I was still am involved as a manufacturer's rep for a nutritional product line that has an FDA registered pharmaceutical manufacturing plant. And one of the unique things that makes that company so unique is that most other nutritional companies do not make it. That means that they can slop anything they want in there. They can sprinkle a little dust on one of the products and they call it, hey, this is pharmaceutical grade. I would think that just the opposite. I know the cost is a factor, but the company I represent, we charge a little bit more. But it would seem to me, and I'm not trying to make you right or wrong, I just try to get the rationale between pharmaceutical grade versus food grade. It would seem like you would want to make that a unique thing, even though it's going to cost you more. It's going to be so much better that way. You cannot disparage you by saying, "Oh yeah, you're just food grade." You know, you don't have to follow all these real strict guidelines. When it comes to food, it would seem to me like you would want to. So, can you give me a little bit more rationale on that? I understand the profit and the cost, but tell me more.
That's an excellent observation and question. When we're talking to Impossible Foods, they actually source their materials from a GMP facility, and they spend a lot of time picking the right supplier for making their Impossible Burger. However, it's not necessarily required as long as you're doing the right testing on the food. Our big focus is about price parity. So without price parity, the world isn't going to buy the food. We're not going to be able to feed the 70 countries in the next few years that are going to have food insecurity. So our objective is to lower the cost, keep it safe. If you saw how your food is currently made, you probably wouldn't want to eat anything you buy off the shelves. But our goal is to do this in a clean way as well. So not using the fetal calf serum and other things like that. We still produce the food in a safe and healthy manner, and the FDA has to approve our manufacturing process for safety, but we don't need to meet the GMP certification. It is overkill and we could charge more, but again, we want to charge the least amount possible. So while being safe at the same time. But yeah, great discussion subject.
Eve doesn't want to ask her question. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Ginny from Restoration Occupational Therapy. And I was just curious what types of meat that you're producing and the fat levels.
Great question. So we actually chose spontaneously immortalized chicken fibroblasts as our cell line to start with. And basically that means that the cells don't shorten their telomeres. Chicken in particular is one of the easiest animals to grow in the lab, cells to grow in the lab. These same cells are used to make most of our vaccines as well. And chicken is also one of the healthiest. However, chicken has one of the least harmful effects on the environment. Cattle, on the other hand, is like 95% of that carbon footprint I mentioned earlier. So, even though, the market in the US is moving towards healthier meats, cattle is on the decline, but it's still a dominant source of protein for a lot of Americans. But cows require texture, and so you got to take the cells and you got to layer them in a structure that looks like meat. You got to have very unique flavors of grass and other things in the meat so that it tastes like the real thing. And in the future, you can envision that just the same way you tailor a recipe for for your favorite food, you could also tailor the way these meats are made and structured. So maybe you can make, a ribeye with slightly less fat around the edges. You only need some marbling, not quite as much as you'll get from Smith's. Sorry, Smith, didn't mean to say your name.
Anything else?
Are you actually selling?
We are not selling yet. We'll have to go through FDA safety approvals. We'll have to have a bigger facility. So we're working on a seed round right now, so we could build out our MVPs and de-risk for our investors, and then hopefully we'll be able to continue licensing our technologies to others while we bootstrap to like a project-based funding for a facility. And then we could sell. Maybe there's already like a sausage company here in New Mexico that would be interested in incorporating our cells. But for right now, we're focused on the smallest steps first, which is, get to market with our growth factors, build out our AI software so that labs can start using it for things like bacterial infection detection. We have a camera that analyzes cells and tells us how many are alive and dead and things like that without humans being involved. So we're going to roll out those technologies first. And our goal is in 10 years to get to selling the cells. Right now, VCs are a little concerned because they want to see returns in 3 to 5 years, but really the culture meat market probably won't be at a sustainable level to see their 10x until 2030s. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. I'm Coco. I'm the founder of SensiBoo, which is a program, science-backed program that prepares future parents to have the closest bond with their baby possible. My question for you is, since you also have a very science-based product, can you talk to me a little bit about some of the challenges that you've experienced communicating about your product to the average person and how you overcome those?
Okay, about to show my cards here. So, I mean, reason why that tech sprint that Paul mentioned was so difficult is because I just got torn to pieces. People are like, I don't care about what you're saying. Stop. Well, they would like cut me off in the middle of my presentation, be like, this is not something I can follow. I'm out. I'm pulling the ripcord. So, I think if it wasn't for that real feedback, though, I probably wouldn't have been able to make a presentation like this today. It was a unique opportunity to get to talk to the public instead of investors. If we were investing, really, we should be looking for smart investors that are already in the space. When we talk to VCs in New York, for example, who've invested in a lot of these culture meat companies, they're like, oh yeah, you got what they want. We got to try and get you in touch with the CEO of this, Bluefin, of Good Foods. Like you don't even talk to the people below CEO. You got to talk to CEO. But if you were to discuss this in New Mexico, it's still a very new subject. But I think just like websites now, I mean, back in the day, I remember websites were not like a thing that people understood, but now everyone understands. Everyone knows how to make their own in Wix. And I believe the same thing is going to happen with cultured meat. It's really knowing your audience and why you want to talk to the audience. Today is the first time we've ever talked about cultured meat publicly in New Mexico, at least according to Google. So I thought that this was, a really important thing to do. But I think a lot of companies, science-based companies, are just focused mainly on connecting with investors. But I think if you're doing something good, then, get out there and talk to the public, but probably like distill it into things that everyone can understand. Like I mentioned, brewing beer. It's very similar to brewing beer in big vats, to use like analogies that other people are familiar with. Yeah, thank you. Good luck.
Thanks.
And we're a community here, so there's a lot of biotech companies in Rio Rancho and here that are trying to come together to help elevate knowledge and understanding around what we do.
Morning, I'm John Patrick. I'm with Amazing Life and Enchanted Lands Music. And some of my questions were already addressed, and I was standing up here and going like, well, okay, so do you have actual, what would you call it? Do you have samples that you're actually producing that are for testing for people to actually eat and to try this yet?
Yeah, I guess, we could try eating some from the lab. So we're growing these fibroblast cells, but meat isn't really made out of fibroblasts. Fibroblasts are actually a multipotent stem cell that all of us have. It's really what's building the collagen underneath your skin. Fibroblasts are one of the only stem cells that make their own collagen substrate for them to grow on and your other cells to grow on. Induced pluripotent stem cells, for example, can't do this, and you got to add collagen. But these fibroblasts, you can't just eat them. They're stem cells. But there's this technology now called transdifferentiation. And so we need to transdifferentiate our fibroblasts into adipocytes, fat cells, or into myosatellite cells, muscle cells, so that we can create, more of that meat-like blend of cells that you would be looking for. We're probably at least another 3 years away from transdifferentiation. If you do eat these cells, they're pretty flavorless and bland. They are grown and maintained in the salt solution, but the other thing we'd have to work on is also how do they taste? And I think that's when looking for companies that already make food products that we can integrate with. It's called blended products. Even a plant-based burger blended with cultured meat cells is ideal. Right now, when we talk about chicken nuggets and burgers, it's actually only 20% animal cells. The rest is all plant-based materials. So they've basically taken the veggie burger to another level where now it tastes more like meat. It feels more like meat. The mouthfeel is more similar.
Okay, so I guess to succinct this question then now with our thread, how long would it take to produce from the stem cell or from your batch to the edible product?
Great question. So it only takes about a week to scale your cells from, a few 100,000 to a few billion. And then you just, you change the media. It's called media that they grow in, the liquid that they grow in with all the nutrients and food that they need. You change that out with the salt water and you store them. And basically once they're blended, they're ready to go. So it's really fast. And that's a big thing with factory farm meat is that you don't realize that cows are raised for about 6 months and then slaughtered. So you're basically usually eating pretty young animals, but it still takes a while to rear them. The cells, you pop them in the batch, you pop them in the bioreactor, and a week later, you have your meat.
Is your process your own invention? Is it patented and you talk about licensing? So could you potentially use your process for pea protein and brown rice for people that do other, that are doing kind of a plant-based kind of mixture, kind of thing?
Yeah, Peter would probably be much better at answering that question than I am, but basically it can apply to other types of cells. Plant cells, potentially we could be optimizing with our AI. One of our first customers for our AI system that uses a microscope camera to collect real-time data. The scientists want to use it to evaluate bacterial pathogen infection. And when the bacterial cells die, it costs them a lot of money to wash these cells out and people to stain them. Stain's expensive. So, there's many other applications for what we're discovering. The process for making cultured meat is something that's kind of been built upon by multiple people in the community. Different universities have contributed. Everyone's adding a small piece. And then what we're doing is we're coming in and seeing the known way to do it and saying, okay, we could change it here. We can improve it here by leveraging this deep tech or building our own software. We've tried licensing other people's stuff, like the plasmids that go into the bacteria. They're the DNA that goes into the bacteria that grows our growth factors in the bacteria. But it wasn't effective. So we had to build our own plasmids. So oftentimes we try using off-the-shelf stuff, but it's just not good enough. So we have to build our own. And that's when we have our own IP. And hopefully EDD, we get a grant from them to pay for our IP lawyers.
Okay, one last quick question. So fabulous presentation, by the way. So how soon before we have the replicator in Star Trek where you push the button and have the food made for you?
Yeah, I think bringing this into people's homes is the most important thing, just like Steve Jobs did with the computer. However, it'll probably take a little longer than 10 years. We're probably looking at least 15 to 20. But that is the end vision, like a bread maker for a steak.
Hi, Athena Christodoulou, co-founder of Seasol Power, which provides energy storage systems. You are in a very good market. I appreciate everything you're doing to rebel against human extinction. I applaud you for getting into a disruptive technology here in New Mexico. New Mexico is very big on ranching. And so I actually heard about cultured meat being spoken of in our legislature. So I don't know how you're gonna handle the fact that you are a disruptive technology in this, one of the states that does produce a lot of beef.
Great question. You know, I love farming, and my family comes from a farming background. It's very hard work, and you dedicate generations to learning how to do what you do. I do not believe that that market is going away. I believe that that market's going to become more valuable as the real world luxury good. So I think instead of these farmers, you know, doing high yield, low return, they'll be able to do lower yields, higher return, spend more time with their animals. And then at their farm, why can't they also be making cultured meat? I didn't know that. I guess this is the first public conversation in a positive light, maybe, about what we're doing. So ranchers were the first to sue the FDA for what you call cultured meat. The FDA and USDA collaborated to decide that it should be, I think what they're calling it is human food made with cultured animal cells. So it's not technically meat, it's human food that is biosimilar or biomimetic to cultured meat, to real meat. But yeah, I was like, oh gosh, if I talk about this publicly, am I going to get some phone calls? But I think, you know, the key is not confrontation. It's not misunderstanding. It's not about misunderstanding each other. We need to understand each other and work together to bring about a better future for all of us. It shouldn't just be one group forcing something on the other. Like, we should be doing this with people who are doing animal husbandry. And I actually went to the state farm trying to find some people with like prize animals that maybe one day could donate the cells that we would use to grow cultured meat. So you have to keep that prize animal alive because you constantly have to be taking samples from it. So it's kind of like camels in Saudi Arabia. You know, they're millions of dollars and they keep them alive forever and try and clone them because they're so valuable. I think that's what we're going to look. I think that's what factory farm meat will start to look like in the future. Hopefully.
Hello, excuse me. I'm Danielle with Conscious Crossroads End of Life Services. Excuse me again. Okay. So a few things. Number one, really great presentation. Thank you. And I really appreciate you working to lower price. That's huge for me. There are so many things I feel like in this world that are only available to a small percentage of the population. And that's not beneficial for the rest of us. You know, if we all can't afford a Tesla, it's not helpful, you know. With that though, this equally fascinates and horrifies me, completely honestly. As we talk about, you know, growing these things in bacteria and whatnot, and I get that there are purification processes, but we've had vaccine batches that have been contaminated with viral loads, you know, because we grew them in animal cultures. And we didn't know these things until they went out in the public. What are the, you probably can't answer what are the chances of something like that happening, but how do we do this as safely as possible and overcome a lot of the fear and concern people like myself have?
Love it. Great questions. Thank you. So if you look at foodborne illnesses currently, they're off the chart. You know, children dying from E. coli infections in these food supply chains that are not well monitored. Cultured meat is an enclosed system and pretty much eliminates the chance of cross-contamination because a bioreactor does not have an immune system. So if you get a virus or bacteria in your vat, then all the cells die and you lose millions of dollars. So it's this is also why we're using artificial intelligence to try and remove the human factor, because a lot of these contaminations come from the human factor. Unfortunately, people aren't paid well enough in these facilities. They're rushed. There's too much work to do. It's sloppy. It's messy. They're not cleaning up the facilities because there's I want to use a nice word, but there's stuff everywhere that potential, liquids go everywhere. And so, our liquids are contained in a controlled environment, closely monitored with artificial intelligence that can make decisions way better than the human brain can right now, with more nodes. So, my hope is that, we reduce the total amount of disease and in the world. Now, there's a big difference between vaccines and what we do. Also, I want to mention GMO and what we do. So vaccines you inject into your body. Food is different. It goes down through a tube that's somewhat well insulated, unless you have some other, compromising issues. But for the most part, we're making a better product than what you would go and buy at the grocery store. I think most steaks sampled at the grocery store have Staphylococcus on them. We won't have that problem with our steaks. Okay, and then plant GMO. So like I know the guy that made the first GMO tomato plant using Basilicus thuringiensis from a caterpillar mixed into the DNA of the tomato plant. That produces a pesticide. Now it's a harmful pesticide to humans, but it does kill the caterpillars and it's part of the plant's DNA now. What we're doing with genetic modification simply allows the cells to be maintained longer, and they're not producing any chemicals, or there's only 2 modifications we make just so that the cells live longer. And actually their DNA is maintained, genetic integrity is maintained. So these are beneficial optimizations to the cells instead of GMO that produces more pesticides in our environment, et cetera.
Awesome. Any other questions? I'll ask a couple more.
Oh yeah, this is exciting. I like this discussion part best.
Yeah, this is great. It's like Shark Tank with civilians, right? And they have they don't have facts, right? So this is good. So it is my singular honor to be able to ask you the New Mexico State question, which is red or green, and which is better with cultured beef?
Right, I have to say red chili with cultured beef, green chili with the chicken.
And what can this community do for you?
I think it's being evangels, you now know what this technology is. When I talk to people, they say, wait, what's cultured meat? I'm like, you haven't heard of cultured meat? And then there's all these questions you have. So when you talk to other people, they're going to have these same questions. And if you can share these answers, maybe New Mexico will be the meat manufacturer for the spaceport. We'll provide all the systems that go into the spacecraft that then astronauts going to Mars can grow their meat in, because you can't bring cows up there. And no one wants to just eat algae for months at a time. So, maybe we could see New Mexico have a new industry that, very much like the facility in Rio Rancho, the Intel facility changed our community here. Maybe cultured meat could do the same. And all of us have an opportunity in this room and in this community to be part of it. It's so big. There's so much opportunity. It needs everyone to drive this thing forward as fast as possible, because it is our one good chance at the public having control over what happens to the future of our planet, and all life on Earth hangs in the balance.
So thanks. And in closing, I want to point out to those of you who are skeptical that Cetaly and the technology they're introducing could drop the price of cultured meat by 2 orders of magnitude. I would like to thank those of you who are taxpayers for having done something else earlier this century, which is dropping the cost of sequencing a mammalian genome from $100 million in 2002 to $1,000 in 2014. That's 5 orders of magnitude in 12 years. So if we can do that, I think we can bring cultured meat down to price parity. So thanks again, Elon.
Thank you, Paul. And that's a tremendous important point. Our legislature, as we just discussed, might be having the wrong conversations about cultured meat. And that is another thing that we can all do, is make sure our legislature, our representatives know how important this is, and that it's not going to destroy, farm raised meat. It's still going to exist for a very, very long time. Subsidies, like if we look at corn, subsidies make a difference. And what cultured meat really needs as soon as possible are large amounts of government subsidies. If we want to see this move forward, then just private capital investment can do. Thank you, everybody.
I do have some events I can share. I know we have some new people here too. I'd love for Elon's partners to come up and introduce themselves, and any other new person, please come up and form a line. We'll have you introduce yourselves while I work out my technical issues to bring up events. Form a line right here. Come on, Matthew. I know you've been here, but they need to meet you. And your other partner? Peter, come on up. Awesome. All the newbies. You're new. Anybody else? Okay. And I don't think we have anybody new online, but Just introduce yourselves, tell us who you are. Make sure you're standing over here so they can see you online. Maybe how you heard about us and when you're going to sign up to present.
Everyone, I'm Matthew. I've been in 1 Million Cups before, back when it first started, I don't know, like a decade ago. Yeah, I'm Elon's COO, business partner. So yeah, nice to be back, and I'm not going to be presenting anytime soon because Elon did it for me.
Hi, this is my first time here. I'm Siobhan Berry, writer. And my book's a finalist for the New Mexico Book Award in Poetry for 2023. So this spring, JP and I, John Patrick and I, did the creative startup in Santa Fe for 6 weeks. And I came up with the idea for my business, which is a company called Words in Bloom. It has several different facets. I want to have a publishing company. I'd like to publish, books, cards, cups, t-shirts, all kinds of stuff like that. But I also want to work directly with writers, particularly underrepresented writers and women writers, people who have a harder time, accessing the publishing industry. And I don't know when I'm going to present, but hopefully soon. So thanks.
We'd love to have you. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Dr. Olivia Gurley-Reitman. I own Enchantment Upper Cervical Chiropractic in Corrales. I'm a Blair Upper Cervical chiropractor, so I see everybody from infants to the elderly and primarily patients that are dealing with a lot of neurological disorders and symptoms, a lot of developmental delays in children, anything revolving around like TBIs, injuries to the brainstem, stuff like that. So the Dawsons have been inviting me for a while, so I finally was able to come, and I'm definitely open to presenting about my business and the type of work that I do.
Love that. Awesome. Nice to meet you. Hi.
I'm Nancy Boss, and I am a vocologist, a voice scientist, researcher, author, but most important, the reason I'm here is that I'm an inspirational speaker. I've only lived in Albuquerque for a little over a year, and I've been traveling the world as an inspirational speaker. And it occurred to me that maybe I could make a difference here in Albuquerque. So I wanted to come out and meet you all and be part of this community.
Awesome.
And I love to speak. So yeah, I'll be talking later.
Hi, I'm Peter. I'm just recently joined Cetaly with Alan. Yeah, I moved to New Mexico about 5 years ago to work at UNM in the postdoc. Okay, next to half inch makes a difference, doesn't it? Yeah. So yeah, Peter, I'm working with Alan with Cetaly. I came to UNM to work. I came to New Mexico to work at UNM as in biomedical research, biochemist by training. Been looking forward to finding some opportunity where I can sort of apply some of my my scientific background to something with some real impact. I feel really lucky to have met Alan and be involved in a project that I think has a lot of potential. It's also exciting science, but also has some real sort of potential to have some genuine sort of societal impact. So yeah, nice to meet you all. I've been coming to 1 Million Cups on and off for the last few months, and that's helped sort of stimulate spark my interest in getting involved in a sort of startup like this. So thank you.
Fantastic. Yay.
Star marks the spot. Hey, I'm Josh, and I've been in New Mexico for I think 3.5 years now. So kind of new. But I do video production with the niche of YouTube. So that's like mainly our focus. Building up YouTube channels for people. First time here, so a little bit nervous to be talking in front of everyone right off the cuff. But yeah, we do YouTube channels for business people, but primarily real estate agents at this point in time. But yeah, probably do a presentation maybe sometime soon, probably by YouTube. Cool. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Hillary Babich. This is actually my second 1 Million Cups, but thank you for the encouragement to reintroduce myself. It's been a while since I've been here. So I'm the president of ABQMR, and we're a small company in Albuquerque that builds magnetic resonance systems. So systems like MRI that you find in the hospital, but we build them for custom things. So we do a lot of work more recently with plant roots, so imaging plant roots so that you can phenotype and breed them to grow in different climates. We also work with a lot of chemical reactors, so studying things at high temperature and high pressure, and all sorts of applications that you might want to see inside but don't want to cut open. So yeah, it's good to be back.
Thank you. Wow, we have so many smart people here. I mean, we're all smart, but this is great. So events, this came from the newsletter. So if you're not on the newsletter and want this stuff, sign up for the newsletter. There's the outdoor adventure pitch. I think there's a deadline of Friday. So make sure if you're in the outdoor recreation, health and wellness or adjacent spaces, that you sign up to win that $10,000 pitch contest. Jason continues his leadership series here. It's actually tomorrow here at Fat Pipe starting at noon. He's going to have a big crowd tomorrow. So if you'd like to come, please sign on or log into Eventbrite and register. OED Online, Ascent Program, Small Business of the Year and others. So this is an SBA program, I suspect. You're welcome to join that if you want to get involved and hear who's winning these awards. New Mexico Rainforest Financial Mentoring with Steve Hoyer. That ought to be interesting. That's on October 6th. Junior Achievement Career Speaker Series with Peter Howley. They've given you a registration link. Junior Achievement's actually going to be here at Fat Pipe tonight. Danielle, I'm surprised they didn't do a better job of advertising that. I followed up with them yesterday. I'm like, are we still on? Because I haven't heard a word about this event. So they're actually going to be here tonight. Cultivating a Success, a Hispanic Business Summit at the National Hispanic Cultural Center on October 14th. Barbara Dawson with her authentic communication and sales process will be back here at Fat Pipe on October 18th at 11:30. There's a link to register. You do have one registration so far, I checked. October 19th, the New Mexico Out Business Alliance. Business matchmaking and golf fundraiser. That sounds fun. We've got an Angels event or fall quarterly event on October 19th. Let's see, October 18th and 19th, the 26th annual NMIFC. I'm not sure what that is. But you know what NMIFC is? It's for some state agency. Eric knows them all. So Rainforest Student Pitch Competition, deadline to apply October 24th. So students of all majors from any New Mexico college. These are fun. And they give away 5K to these young entrepreneurial teams. They're really fun to watch their pitches. Albuquerque Business First 2023 Fall Women's Summit at the Sandia Golf Club on October 25th. NMSU Arrowhead Scale Up Pitch Competition with Electric Playhouse on October 26th. UNM Center for Responsible Entrepreneurship, Meet the Entrepreneurs, Higher Education in Santa Fe, October 26th. And then he even put a NABO event, the 20th Annual NABO New Mexico Legislative Speak Out, where you get to speak to legislators. That's October 26th. So events statewide, pretty much anything that could appeal to anyone is on this list. If you're not on the 1 Million Cups mailing list, I think I did finally figure out why it doesn't work for some people, and I can help you with that if you're having any problems. So I think that might be it, unless anybody has another event they want to announce. Yeah, come on up.
Good morning, everyone. Ryan Mast with Senior Strategist with Sustainability Partners. And so we do
provide support for public entities on their infrastructure. Just want to let everybody know on October 13th, which is a Friday up in Raton, they're going to have a Northeastern New Mexico Economic Development Summit. And I'll be up there joining the Economic Development Department of the state in a panel in the afternoon. They're going to model out their funded panel. If you haven't checked out their funded model, it's actually really interesting. It allows public entities to basically pitch their infrastructure projects to a series of different funders, whether that be on the financing side or the public funding side. So that'll be all day. It's a free event up at the Raton Convention Center. So really excited about joining folks for that and being able to hear more about the communities in northern Mexico. Thanks.
I will note that we had to reschedule next week's presenter to a later week in October. So I'm looking for someone to fast track. I will reach out to the people who have applied, but if anyone's interested in applying and wants to be coached quickly to present next week, we'd love to have you apply. So Paul.
Yep.
You want to come give us your final pep rally?
Well, you know, one of the great things about being a scientist is you get to hang around with other scientists and talk about the future. And people think you're nuts, right? But look at what happened this past week in Utah. Anybody have an idea what that's a cue for? A spacecraft landed with samples from an asteroid. That's previews of coming attractions. In 2031, a spacecraft is going to land on Earth with samples from Mars that Perseverance is drilling right now. So for those of you who are facing small challenges in scaling up your business or solving some problems, think of the scale of the problems that we're capable of solving. And look at the problems that are on your desk right now and say they're not that bad. And remember that there's plenty of friends here to talk about your problems with. So I'll see you next week.